Guys, we're back for another exciting episode of the Hashtag Wednesday Match Play, and I am pumped for today's guest because this guy is a podcast extraordinaire. So we're going to be talking about maybe one of the most well-named podcasts on the internet right now. Like, I look at Private Club Radio and the Hashtag Wednesday Match Play. We've got some pretty good names, but this guy, he's on the mark, and you'll know why that makes sense. So we've got Mark Immelman with us, who is not only a podcast extraordinaire, but he is a Twitter wizard. Like, this guy is all over Twitter sharing photos and videos and just having a good time, right? Mm-hmm. But everybody that's watching at home, before we jump into this, if you haven't done so already, click the subscribe button down below. The easiest way to make sure you get this content is by doing that. But if you want it delivered right to your inbox, click the notifications button as well. Make sure that you're doing that here on YouTube. Jump over to iTunes, Google Play, subscribe to the podcast. If you don't want to look at us, that's fine. You can just listen to us. We're going to talk golf, and we're going to talk a lot about golf because this guy's podcast is all over the board, and he's involved with the PGA Tour through this podcast, and there may be an ability to pull him over to the Golf Radio Network. I don't know. We'll see. But let's just welcome Mark Immelman to the show. Mark, welcome to the Hashtag Wednesday Match Play.
Thanks, man. I'm jacked to be with you guys. I was so technologically challenged. I wasn't able to get onto this Google Hangout thing, but yeah, we are, and I'm excited to be with you all, man.
Awesome. Well, it's very cool to have you here. I've been following you on Twitter for quite some time, and I had poked at getting you on the show a few weeks ago, and here you are. So let's start with an overview. Who are you? What do you do? How long have you been working in golf? What are you doing in golf? If I go to your Wikipedia page, which is quite frankly really cool that you've got a Wikipedia page, you've got about 13 things that you're involved with. So give us a 10,000-foot view of who you are and what you do in the golf business.
Well, grew up in South Africa, born back there in 1970, moved to the United States. First went to college here in the early 90s, played golf competitively for a while, but I was always a teacher. And then I went over and taught in Europe on the European tour some. Then eventually my alma mater, Columbus State, reached out to me and they said, "You want to come back here and coach the college team?" And it was like a real serendipitous sort of an event. So we came over and we interviewed for the job, and that was in 2001, and I've been there since. I'm still the director of golf now at Columbus State University in Columbus, Georgia. I'm also an announcer. I do some. I'm an on-course rover for CBS. I do some analyst work for PGA Tour Live. I'm a golf analyst for CBS, and then I'm also a PGA Tour Radio play-by-play guy. And then, of course, there's that On the Mark podcast just to keep me out of trouble. So there are a few irons in the fire between coaching and podcasting and announcing, but all things being said, I'm passionately in love with the game of golf, and I'm immersed in it, and I come from a golfing family, so it's all good, man.
Well, that's really cool, and I feel like you're like me. Like, you're never bored, which is awesome. Like, you've always got to have something going on, and anything that comes across your plate, it sounds like you pick it up and you hit a home run with it. So Now, how did you get started in the golf business? I mean, you're obviously involved in a lot of different facets of it, but you've got, your brother, who we'll talk about here in a little bit, was a PGA Tour player, major winner. Kind of what got you started into golf way back when?
Golf came to me back when I was 13 because I wasn't big and strong enough to play rugby over in South Africa. I played some, but I got injured pretty badly, and I was a decent tennis player and stuff. So I went to play golf with my buds one day, and I was 13, and I guess the bug bit. And then from there, everything sort of worked out nicely for me. I caddied for a while, and then through the caddying, I just hadn't I read voraciously when I was a kid, and I just learned a lot about it, and I got to spend time with a lot of real smart folks. And so the teaching sort of came along, and through the teaching, the coaching arrived. And so it's all been it's been a blessed sort of a curve for me, and my path has sort of cleared itself out. There's been, I've worked hard, I've researched hard, but fortunately things have kind of gone my way. And with regard to the tour, my name rhymes with a Masters champion, and that never hurts. Okay. And so I got in, I did some announcing on the European tour before when I was just sort of a sideline when I was teaching over there. And I reached out to the folks at PGA Tour Radio, and they gave me a sound check, and they said, "Okay, we'll give you a try." And they gave me one go, and then another, and then the next thing I was on their crew. And from that, PGA Tour Live came about. I was right at PGA Tour Live at the outset of it. And so that was kind of the springboard for me. The radio was great, but PGA Tour Live just blossomed. And covering all these featured groups and stuff got me noticed. And then the CBS folks came knocking. And since then, it's now become quite notable in the game of golf. And not just because I'm Trevor's brother, I guess.
Well, what's cool about PGA Tour Live, so I'm based at Tiburon Golf Club here in Naples, Florida, and we have the Shark Experience
Yeah.
presented by Verizon in our golf carts. And if
Yeah.
you've not used it, it is awesome. We got Bose speakers and touchscreen GPS, whole 9 yards. But PGA Tour Live is a part of that. So
Oh,
you can
cool.
literally be on the golf course watching PGA Tour Live
I don't know
playing
if
golf.
not sure if that's a good thing when you're trying to focus on your game and you've got me rambling on in the background now.
Or Tiger missing 17 fairways in one round of golf, but that's a totally separate conversation. Now, one of the things that you do, which is the main reason why I wanted to get you on this show, is On the Mark podcast that's been downloaded, and I'm glad I'm sitting down because it's been downloaded over 1 million times.
Mhm.
Please feel free to share some of that wisdom with me because I'm trying to get this show to a fraction of that. Tell us a
Ricky,
little bit more about the show. How can people find it? Where can they download it? Where can they listen? Just give us an overview of the show.
well, you can find it anywhere. It's available on iTunes or Stitcher or TuneIn. For the Android users who have moaned at me, you can download the PGA Tour app and listen on the app. If you've got an Android, you can listen on Google Play. You can listen on your Amazon Alexa through Amazon. And then, of course, you can go to the website at pgatour.com and you go to podcasts there or On the Mark and you'll find it there. So it's basically available anywhere. The reason why it blossomed, I don't know. I know this for sure. I know golfers want to get better, and we have been fortunate to get some really cool guests on. Golf instructors, PGA Tour players, mind gurus, fitness guys, and On the Mark became the place where you can go and get information for your game. And it's always been my mission as a teacher to sort of two things: to shine a light on other people, because when I was a young teacher, I was working my buns off to try and get noticed. And I kind of didn't really, well, I did, but I didn't really bust it out. So I want to identify all these minds around the place and give them a platform. And the folks shine to that, and then people around the globe, they just want golf information. And I try and make it so that there's an element of understanding to it. So it's not just, well, I'm downloading a video from YouTube and some guy's talking at me. Because I'm a teacher, I can, I guess, decode what they say in a little way, and my radio play-by-play experience helps. So, we're telling stories about golf instruction with a view to helping people so that they can understand the stuff better and go and apply it to themselves. So, I'm thankful. It grew pretty quickly, but I know for sure that people want to do golf better, and that's kind of our sweet spot.
Well, and I think it grew quickly because of, one, the quality of the content, but I think by finding it on PGAtour.com also might help that. Just the affiliation with the tour definitely has to have a little bit to do with it as well.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I mean, the PGA Tour is the biggest brand in the game. And through my announcing and stuff like that, I've been able to forge relationships with good players. I mean, I've had everyone from Hall of Famers on that show to Justin Thomas after he'd shot 59 in Hawaii, and Brooks Koepka, and so we've had some really big names on there. I haven't made the big splash with the Spieths and the McIlroys and company, but I found while watching downloads, because I've had some great podcasts with guys like Nick Price and such that have been good, but then I'll bring them some golf instructor like Joseph Mayo, for argument's sake, or Grant Waite, and that thing will bust. So we have a real niche audience, and those are folks looking for. They're sort of those guys in the range that have probably always got a training aid in the hand and making a video of their golf swing. That's who listens. I think that's who downloads us.
That's awesome. I'm friends with Mayo, so I'll make sure I shoot him a note on Facebook when this goes live to have him tune in because he gets a shout out. So that's really cool.
He's a good guy, and through Joe, he connected me with George Gankus, and we've become friends. And for me as a teacher, it's been neat because I'm always learning, and you hear other folks, and you should be always learning. So when you hear these other guys with, their take on stuff, it's broadened me. And honestly, I think it's made me a better announcer because now I can just reach out to them quickly and say, yo, what's Joe Pro doing? And they can fill me in on what the work is. So it's content for me as an announcer too.
Check my email signature to that email I just sent you, because I put a little quote at the bottom that says I am always learning, because I love that. Like, I just, every day, if you don't learn something, try harder, because you need to be learning every day. So I love that. Now, you didn't mention this. You're also an author. You wrote a book. So tell us a little bit about the book. I mean, why wouldn't you write a book?
I've actually got two, and this came from a guy. This came from a guy who came for a lesson with me, and he did pretty well. And he said, my sister-in-law is an author for a company up in New York City, and he said it's actually an ebook. And he said, I think she's just getting into that market. You can add video and such to this book, and I think it'd be a good idea. So I'd always wanted to, make my thoughts known, and I wanted to write a book. And so we put this together, and the first one I published with them, and then we split, and then we republished it. And it's called Scandalously Simple, the easy way to straight golf shots. And because I was just a firm believer in that, sometimes in an effort to sound smart, some golf instructors don't really communicate as well with folks as what they should. And I respect jargon, and I respect all this kind of stuff, and I get these people on my podcast. But communication is only as good as what the message is received. And golf is a pretty easy game if you understand a few things, and that's what Scandalously Simple was about. And then the second one was golf is a game of recovery, because as a young teacher in Europe, I got to spend some time around Seve Ballesteros. And if you thought Tiger Woods was good at Bellerive last week, making the score he did, Seve made that was Seve's mantra, really. He hit the thing everywhere but one. And so I talked about recovery and the elements of recovery, what shots you had to be good at and how you can do them well. So Scandalously Simple was sort of principle-based, with a few ideas you could adjust to sort of identify golf shots and do better. And then we talked about recovery some. I've always got things on the back burner, but I'm swamped with other stuff right now.
So they compared Tiger more than once to Seve during that tournament, and I never got the chance to see Seve really play. I've seen, obviously, over the years, just recordings from him, but Tiger has 8 birdies and shoots 600 par and hit 2 fairways. I mean, put that together, right? I mean, I can't even wrap my head around how good that was. And
it was a masterclass. I had the group behind him. I was on Ram and Ricky for a while, and then they didn't start off so well, so our producer moved me up to Justin Thomas, who was making a bit of a run then. And then I couldn't see much, but I saw Tiger for the first 6 holes, I think, and his misses weren't just off the fairway; they were wide. Okay, and
with irons, they were wide.
Yeah, but you know what? It's how the game is played. You golfers just need to understand that good scores don't come because you're swinging well. Good scores come because you manage your emotions. They come because you manage your attitude. They come because, like Tiger said in his post-game interview with Amanda Balionis, he's like, look, I didn't know where it was going, so I was just trying to hit something, and so he was just trying to get around. And that's sort of the element of the game. I think with the advent of all the information we got, it's helpful. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I use all of this technology, but there's an element of playing that is brought to bear when the chips are down. And Tiger showed that. And I hope people paid attention, because for a while, Jordan Spieth was doing the same thing. And on my podcast, I said to folks, I'm like, Spieth you should be watching what this young man does, because he will help you to lower scores if you emulate what he does. Now, you might not hit it as far as Tiger or Jordan, but, you can game the thing out if you've got your wits about you and you practice the right shots before you play.
I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with a gentleman, and he said, if I can hit it, I can make par. And I love that. I mean, Tiger showed that. My God, Tiger showed that if you can hit it, you can make birdie. So.
Well, that was something my dad said to me as a young man. And when he told me when I was about 15, I was a decent player then, and I didn't believe him, of course, because he was my dad, and I was young and infantile. And he said, if you've got a swing and you can see the target, you've got a shot. So in golf, as a game of recovery, I actually grade the quality of bad shots, because so many people think when you miss the target, it's a bad shot. To me, it's only bad if the next shot comes out of your hand. If you can hit the next one, like you saw Tiger, like you said, you're okay. And you like Tiger did, when he hit a bad shot, you'd see some frustration, like on 17. But, as soon as that thing was gone and the club was back in the bag, he was figuring out a way to try and get that thing into the hole with as little damage as possible.
I mean, he slams the club on the ground a couple of times. By the time he's walking down the fairway, he's got a smile on his face, and he's in a good mood again. To your point about attitude, that it becomes more about attitude than the swing that you put on the previous golf shot. So
I spoke with John Rahm to that end before the final round. I was on the range watching him, and I was getting ready for the CBS show, and so I said to him, I'm like, you're playing nicely. You came in here with a little inauspicious form. What gives? And he mentioned, he goes, I'm just trying to clean up my attitude. He goes, he said, my bad reaction to bad shots became a habit, was basically the gist of his explanation. And I thought that was so smart. And he said, initially to hit a bad shot and not react to the thing was hard. He said, but now I'm finding it easier. And so as a result, I'm sort of allowing my talent to show a bit more, and I'm not playing, hot under the collar, if you will.
So from a golf instruction perspective, are you based out of a club, and can people at home take lessons with you, or kind of what's that look like? Are you taking new students?
Yeah, I'm actually at the Columbus State University golf facility. We built this a couple of years ago, and it's a state-of-the-art sort of a place, and I'm available for lessons. I've got two fantastic young teachers who work alongside me, who, when I'm out on the road, they help out folks too. So yeah, I'm still teaching, not as much as what I used to, obviously, but it's still who I am. I'm a golf instructor, and my purpose is to help folks cultivate and develop their ability and their talents, and so that is my bent, and that's kind of how I found an avenue as a golf broadcaster too.
So you are at Columbus State. Tell us a little bit more about your time playing there. I mean, you had a pretty good career when you were playing there, by the way.
Yeah, I was an All-America a few times, and we won a few national championships. And
I love how you say that, just so like, yeah, I was an All-American. Like, you're so humble about it. I love it.
Well, again, I was fortunate to get a chance there, and for young South Africans at that stage, I was sort of at the forefront of South Africans, because this was back in '91. The forefront of young South Africans coming over to college. I mean, I was here. Rory Sabatini was over in Arizona, and Tim Clark came a little while later. He was at NC State, and before us, I think, Phil Jonas might have been the first guy that was over here, and that was a ways back. South Africans normally turn pro, and so I took my chances, and I played pretty well, and I tried to turn professional. I played 3 events, which I had a top 10, a miscut, and a middle of the pack sort of thing. But again, as I look back, I was always interested in how the game worked, and perhaps that was my undoing as a player, because as soon as I hit a bad shot or two, I was trying to adjust myself as opposed to doing what Tiger did. So the Columbus State was cool, because when I came back here, it sort of tied the bow for me. It closed the circle, and it's neat to be back here at a place that gave me my first in to the United States. So it's been a cool sort of a journey.
That's really cool. And to everyone at home, I'll make sure to include links to all of these places that he's
Perfect, thank you.
And all that. I'll include that in the description below, just so you can learn more about the program there and all that he's doing there. So social media, obviously, you're extremely active on Twitter. What other networks are you using? And do you see social media as kind of a valuable part of your marketing plan as an instructor? Or do you just do it because it's an easy place to go and talk about what's going on in the world of golf?
Social media happened to me by accident. It actually, I wasn't one. And a good friend of mine, who was a former executive at AFLAC organization here in town, he said to me, "You should be on Twitter." So I joined Twitter, and I don't have a lot of followers, but if you follow me, you're into golf, basically. And then I have someone who helps me with our On the Mark handle, and that's a place to go if you want golf information, from our podcasts to tour stuff, to European tour stuff. If you're a golf junkie, On the Mark is the place to be. And then I have someone who helps me with the Facebook. I've got a Facebook site, the instruction site, and they run the thing through Loomly, which they help me write posts, and then they post them randomly. So you'll see when I get on there, because mine are a bit more personal. But a lot of the social media thing, honestly, I got into broadcast through social media. I got to go in PGA Tour radio because I reached out to Matt Adams. I was listening to his show in a rental car one time, and he had Teaching Tuesday or whatever it was. And so I tweeted him. I'm like, "Matt, if you want someone with a different sounding accent, I'm available." And he got right back and said, "How about next Tuesday?" And that turned into a connection with a tour, which turned into PGA Tour radio, which turned into PGA Tour Live. So I have Twitter to thank for this whole sojourn, this odyssey that I've been on as an announce guy. Honestly.
That's really cool. And I kind of look at this show too. Like I mean, I'm 114 episodes into this show, right? And I look at it as I'm not getting paid to do this. I do this sitting at home because I enjoy the conversation, I enjoy the content, and who knows where it goes. And I remember you mentioned Amanda Balionis. She was I was doing some stuff with her a long time ago when she was at Callaway, and hashtag Chad at Callaway, and I look at now, I mean, Chad's still at Callaway, but Amanda now, I mean, my God, she's interviewing Tiger on Sunday at a major. Like, that wasn't that long ago. She's sitting there in a cubicle at Callaway talking to me about, products and stuff. And, you never know where it's going to go. And same thing with you. I mean, social media has kind of helped springboard your career, and it's got the ability to connect with people in the right place.
Well, I guess the teacher in me is coming out. And if someone's listening to you and me, Here's the one thing I know about social media. You've got to pick your poison a little bit. It's a place for people to air their laundry, and you've got to be so careful. So, I mean, I just try and be uplifting on social media. I'm not going to be critical of someone or bring people down. I mean, that's not the place for it, because with this sort of stuff, everyone is a broadcaster nowadays. And I'll tell you this from the locker on the PGA Tour. These guys are reading some posts too, and they're very aware of who some guy in the bottom of some bedroom somewhere is tweeting about them, because some of them read this stuff. And that's how Chris Solomon and the boys from No Laying Up, I mean, they have developed a huge following. So people are paying attention, but you got to pick how you want to position yourself. And the haters, to use a silly term, are the folks that they'll get blocked very, very quickly by the people you kind of maybe need if you're looking to really make a splash in the future.
To that point, I always look at it that, if I'm big enough or popular enough that I've got people that are hating me, then I'm doing something right. And I look at that to the effect that somebody's going to challenge my opinions on things that I'm just talking about, whether it's golf or dance music or travel or whatever. Like, I'm there posting content that I think is good quality content. If you, as a person at home, wants to engage with that, follow, buckle up, and let's go. But if you don't, then get out of my way, because I'm going to keep posting it. So
well, I'm with you. If I make something, I won't make too many on the edge comments. I'll once in a while I will. But if some guy starts having a go at me, I'm not going to block you. I'm just not going to pay attention. I've got bigger fish to fry, honestly, and to try and get into some Twitter spat. My only issue with Twitter, I think it's fantastic, and all sorts of social media, is there's not this you and me thing going on here. There's no tone, there's no context to the statement. And not very many people are talented writers enough to take 360 characters and make their point well known.
And so, it used to be 140 characters.
Yeah, well, that's when it was even worse, because you had something comes out, the next thing it's completely misconstrued, and then you see at the bottom of the chain, then well, I didn't really mean that. I'm like, well, surprised. I'm not shocked at all, So I'm a big fan of social media. I read Twitter a lot. It's where I find my news. It's where I find my golf stuff. It's where, because the modern PGA Tour player, I mean, they're pretty involved there, and you'll sort of see them. They'll come and go a little bit. Like Rory's not too involved there right now, and Ricky, that was a slowed down. Whereas for a while they'll be quite active. But it's also just they might get burnt, and then they'll hang out for a little while and then come back. But I enjoy it.
So speaking of Twitter, you used, and obviously there is one, a hashtag Tiger effect. Tell me a little bit more about your thoughts. I mean, there's no question he's got an impact on the game. That's proven every time he tees it up. But what are your thoughts on the Tiger effect?
Look, everyone on the PGA Tour everybody from the world's #1 golfer currently to the 125th guy on the FedEx Cup points list and the web.com tour, they know that Tiger moves the needle. And we see it at events. There's a different energy when he plays, and that energy is ramped up massively when he's in contention. I mean, last week, it was like a football game at Bellerive. It was so loud. I made the statement on the CBS Clubhouse Report show after the broadcast on Sunday. When he stiffed that 9-iron, I think it was, to 15, he hit it in there to kick-in range for the bounce-back birdie. I was up ahead on 16 green, just walking down to 17 tee. And I joked, I'm like, I swore I felt the earth move, because the place went bananas. I've never heard such a loud cheer in golf ever. And I've been to Ryder Cups and stuff, but it was nuts. And to see, when he came back, there were the detractors and there were the fans. And they all went to see, well, is he going to fail or is he going to win? Now it just appears that all and sundry are in Tiger's corner. And it's neat, because it shows to me that people have grace. They're prepared to forgive someone of whatever their indiscretions are. And I appreciate that. So the Tiger effect is real. Everybody knows it. Hell, CBS's ratings were up massively from where they were from their best, which was back in 2009 when he was playing. So everyone's aware of it. It's a real thing.
Well, it's a good time to be alive to be able to see this comeback. And if he can continue to play as well as he's been playing and continue to get better and start winning again, it could be next to Hogan's comeback, the most impressive and amazing comeback in professional sports history. And I think he's showing signs of that. I mean, again, he's 3 over through 2 holes. on the first round, and then hits 2 fairways and shoots 6 under in the final round and finishes second place in a major. And I mean, Koepka deserved that. And the way Tiger hit the ball on Sunday, I don't think he quote unquote deserved to win, but he sure made it interesting. And it's going to be a fun few years up ahead, I think, with him playing how he's playing.
Yeah, there was maybe Valspar. I was working Valspar for PGA Tour Live, and he started making a run, and that was back then. That was early into his return. And I made the statement that might have gone a bit viral or whatever, where I said, where do you hide your cape? Because it has been superhuman, to think of where he was, to think of where he is now. It's bordering on miraculous. And I don't know I know Hogan was in a very bad way, and they're different things to compare. But either way, the comeback is complete, in my opinion. I don't think Tiger has to win to finish this thing. He proved that he is legitimate last week.
And I to that point about the cape and his comeback, I mean, he wants to win. There's no question. He wants that wins record. He obviously wants the majors record. And to be at that age, to hit the ball that far, and to be standing there playing against the guys that were kids when he was coming up in the early or mid 90s. I mean, Justin Thomas made a comment after the fact, and he said he's like, I've played with Tiger a handful of times, and I've never seen that many people on a golf course watching somebody that's not in first place. I love that.
Yeah, well, look, it's that's part of the Tiger effect. The final group, you've got Brooks Koepka involved, who's one of the leading players in the game by a long way, and his crowd was big, but the crowd with Tiger Woods was immeasurable. So, I mean, I've been to many an event where Tiger's been playing, and it's early days, and then you get dispatched to somebody else. We're on the other side of the golf course, and nobody is around because everyone's watching Tiger Woods.
Everybody's watching Tiger.
Yeah.
Now, your brother is PGA Tour player, Masters champion. How close is your relationship, and do you guys get a chance to play much golf together, or kind of what's that look like?
We don't play golf together. Our relationship's close. No, he lives in Orlando. I'm here in Columbus, Georgia, and we're very close. I mean, I've taught him for a long time. I don't teach him now. He's a heck of a player. He's kind of the guy who's got everything going for him. He's good looking, he's well spoken, he plays golf well, and now he's making real inroads into television with the Golf Channel, which I'm happy for because he lives there and because he's got a lot to offer. He's insightful and he's got a lot of experience, so that's cool. I think the last time we played golf together, that was many, many moons ago.
But were you teaching him when he won the Masters? Because if so, that's kind of your fault. I mean,
I helped him with his putting a little bit that week.
You go.
If at that stage, if I had to, well, David Ledbetter has been a mentor to the both of us, and at that stage, Led was helping him with his swing, but I was helping him with his putting a little bit that week, and he putted nicely, so it wasn't my fault. I'm a firm believer in that. As an instructor, we're just kind of the background mechanic people. The guy or the girl with their hands on the rubber end of the golf club. Because the truth of it is, when you're back on the second 9 at the Masters, for argument's sakes, the lessons go out the window then. I mean, golf starts happening at its base level under that pressure. And the athlete, the skill, the moxie, the mental acumen, the emotional control, all of that stuff is exposed. And if you're thinking about golf swing technique, then you're hurting. You really are. Well,
this has been awesome to have you come on the show and to learn more about you and all of the different things that you have going on. But we're almost halfway there. So that's the front 9. That's the business side. Now it's time to let the hair down and have a little bit of fun. So We're going to jump to the back 9 and just talk a little bit about golf. So you ready for your back 9?
Shoot.
What is your favorite golf movie?
Caddyshack, without a doubt.
That's a popular answer. I'm just glad that you didn't say The Legend of Bagger Vance, because that is not a very good movie.
Caddyshack, without a doubt. It's not even close.
Now, do you get nervous when you're recording the podcast or you're on air doing announcing? I mean, that's got to be a little bit nerve-wracking. You can probably get used to it, but do you ever get nervous when you're on air?
I get amped up, definitely. The anticipation, if my heart rate's up, it's because I'm excited. Not so sure I'm nervous, because when, like for television, when that light goes on, off you go. There's not a lot. There's not a lot of thinking going on. And if I'm scripted, if you're telling me what I've got to say, then I might get a bit more nervous. But if if I was a horse and you're the rider, if you let me on a bit of a light rein, then no, I'll just go.
I dig that. Now, you're from South Africa. I'm planning a trip actually next year to go cage diving with great whites in Cape Town.
My wife has done that. You're nuts.
Oh, that's awesome. Did she love it? Was it so cool?
She loved it because she's nuts like you.
You're in a cage, though. I mean, I am a certified scuba diver, but I'm in a cage.
Did you see the video of that shark that jumped into the cage?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I'm not wishing ill on you, but please, just be careful, okay?
So what else do I have to see when I'm there? It's probably going to be just a long weekend, but what else do I have to see when I'm in South Africa?
If you're in Cape Town only, go on the top of Table Mountain. It's awesome. The restaurants down there, the winelands where I'm from, if you're into wine and stuff, it's just beautiful. Everything over there. It's a very outdoorsy sort of a culture, a beach, wine, sport, outdoor hiking and things. So you'll enjoy it.
And sharks.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you recently lost a pair of Bose headphones on a flight. Tell me more about that, because that sounds like that ended a lot better than one might expect.
I love Delta. I love Delta, and I'm not paid to say this. I'm in Georgia, so I fly out of Columbus, I connect through Atlanta, and I go everywhere on Delta, including South Africa. And, you're traveling in an early morning flight, and I'm half asleep still, so I kept my headphones in a little green bag, and I obviously took them off for some reason. I put the bag in the seat pouch in front of me. And on the way out, because when we're flying to events, a lot of the PGA Tour people are on the same flight. So someone obviously walked past me and they were like, hey, how are you? So I get to chatting and I forget my headset in there. I realized this when I get to the hotel. And so I just sent an email to Delta describing it. I sent it to Lost and Found, whatever it was. And I got 1 or 2 emails back saying, we haven't found your item, but rest assured we're still looking. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I'd given up. And then I was somewhere away and I got an email from Delta saying, we found your item. Please click the link and all you got to do is pay for shipping. And I clicked it and there was a description of what it was. I'm like, sure. And the thing was FedEx to my house a couple of days later. And I was like, this is the best service ever. Because when I got those emails, I was like, sure. But then they found it. So I'm a huge fan of Delta Airlines.
I'm actually flying Delta very soon to Europe. I'm going on a European beer trip. But on the flip side of that, I recently flew back from a property. I was working at a trim property for a little bit of the summer in Rhode Island, and American Airlines broke a club in my golf bag. Mm-hmm. And at first they said, no, we're not going to cover it. After I talked to 7 different people on the phone, 2 different people via email, someone on Twitter, they finally approved it. So not quite the same as getting your headphones back, but they are going to fix my broken hybrid, which is very nice of them. So
yeah, look, it's customer service. So again, with a podcast or whatever, the customer is always right. What's the thing? And that's your experience and mine shows that they honestly care, that the people were trying, and it's not just someone giving you the standard email back.
Now, you've played a lot of golf courses over the years. What's the best course you've ever played?
Probably Augusta National.
Pretty easy there, I would think.
Well, for different reasons. They're just great courses everywhere. Like one of my favorite courses to go and play is a little course down in Destin, Florida called Indian Bayou. But I would say for just the overall experience of it all, Augusta National just tickled everything about me. Not just the golf of it, just the way I felt when I played the place. So I'd have to say Augusta National.
So when you're traveling, do you prefer Uber or Lyft, or does it matter?
Don't even use Lyft. I'm an Uber guy.
I used Lyft once, never again. Just saying. Oh yeah, it was just not the experience that you get with an Uber. And I feel like Uber is better outside of the United States. Like it's good here, but it's really good in Europe specifically, and it's so much cheaper than a taxi. I mean, just what a great idea. And who would have thought 20 years ago we're going to pay somebody to get into their car?
Here's a punt for Uber too, okay? And this is me. Obviously, I'm giving up my laundry here, but it was an early morning. The Uber picked me up at the house too at a 6 a.m. flight. And I keep all my podcasting equipment in a backpack. And it's a dark car. I get out there and I put the guy's back trunk was full, so I put my bags on the back seat, including my backpack. And I get out and I pull my bag out and I just keep on walking. And I get there and 5 minutes later, I've realized I don't have my backpack. I open the app. I find Lost and Found. I call them. That guy calls me back like within 2 minutes. And I said to him, Ralph or whatever your name was, I've left my backpack on your back seat. He goes, oh, and he turns around and goes, yeah, there it is. He goes, I'll be there in 10. Made my flight, everything, and the guy turned around and dropped it off for me. So the service there was perfect too.
By the end of this episode, you're going to be flying Delta for free. Uber is going to give you credits. Like, I feel like we're getting you dialed in here.
No, I love it when people treat you like you want to be treated. And I love
and
people.
What's interesting about that, though, is I feel like we don't expect that anymore. That it's a big deal when we're treated the way that we should be treated.
Yeah.
And when customer service is in place the way it should be, that becomes no longer the norm. So I'm glad that you've had those experiences with some pretty big brands.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I'm hopeful every day. I try and teach my two little girls to do right and treat people with respect and stuff. So you're right. It's neat when people turn around and do the same thing.
Now, you've played Augusta. Your brother won the Masters. What's your favorite PGA Tour major? I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to know the answer to this, but
yeah, that's a hard question because they're just so different. I would say it's 1A and 1B for me, and 1A is the Masters, and 1B is the Open. I mean, the Open Championship, it is an experience bar none, and those golf courses are so great, and there's just something so romantic about in your rain gear, freezing with a cup of coffee in your hand, umbrella over your head, watching golf. It's truly an experience that'll touch your soul. But Augusta National, it has no peer. The golf course is just majestic. Look, open disclosure, I'm a fanatical Bobby Jones fan. And so, again, Augusta National is just an emotional sort of a thing for me. And the tournament is awesome. It's so well run. The membership are so friendly. And I just love to, because I get to go there often. And I love to watch people who go there for the first time and who see it for the first time. I love to watch their faces. And that for me, at any of the other major championships, with respect to each and every one of them, the PGA, which last week was unreal, the US Open, obviously, to see people's faces when they show up at the Masters for the first time, it's priceless. And that for me sort of seals the deal.
So quickly compare your experience the first time you were at Augusta and the first time you were at the Home of Golf at St. Andrews. Is it possible to compare those two? Because I've not been to Augusta, but I have been to St. Andrews.
Well, the first time I was at St. Andrews, it was blowing so hard that we were taken off the golf course. So
maybe not a fair comparison.
My first time at St. Andrews turned into a number of pints at Marbell's just down the road. So it wasn't all golf. We won the course for a few days. But St. Andrews is the same thing. For me, it's not just the course, it's the town. And that town it emanates golf. Everything, that town exists because of the university, but more the golf course. So St. Andrews is a different sort of an experience. Augusta National, the first time I went there was as a young collegian. And when we were back in college, we played back then in Augusta State's tournament. And our team happened to win that week. And then everyone who was in the field got an invitation to the Monday practice round. So I went there as a young man, having watched this tournament on TV, and I walked the back nine and I sort of relived everything. And then I bumped into Ernie Els, who was a longtime friend, and I walked with him for a bit. So, I mean, it feels like it was yesterday. Now it's kind of crazy that I get to go back there as often as I do.
That's cool. Ernie would be a good guest for the show. So the next time you see him, give him a plug and tell him that he needs to come on the hashtag.
He's just around the corner from you down there. He's on the other side of Florida.
I mean, it's a quick drive. I mean, we go over to Miami. We're really big into electronic dance music, so we go over to the other coast quite a bit to check out DJs and clubs and stuff. So maybe I'll just head over there and see if I can't find his address and just knock on his door and say,
let's touch him. I mean, he loves to talk about his autism center, and it's something that's so close to his heart. And it's so nice for me to see such a hero, have such a cause about him. We've all got a purpose deep down, and that undoubtedly is Ernie Els's purpose, and I commend him for taking it on like he has.
Well, to that point, though, I think he'd just be a good conversation. I just feel like
he's brilliant conversation.
Yeah. So, and that, obviously, the guy, so you understand. Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been such a great conversation. We could literally sit here and talk about golf all night long. Everybody at home, again, if you haven't had the chance, subscribe to the YouTube channel down below. Click on notifications. Go to iTunes and Google Play. Subscribe there so you can listen to us in the car or on your next flight. But, Mark, I got one more question for you before we let you out of here. What's next?
What's next for me?
Yeah, what's the immediate future look like for a guy that's got his hands on 45 projects?
I just love talking about golf. So I hope the announced thing continues. I hope that I continue to bring worthwhile content to the golf fans, and I want to just continue to be as thankful and as passionate about this game as what I am. So who knows what happens tomorrow? But if tomorrow for me happens, I will probably be talking about golf. So that's what we're gonna do.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on the show. If you ever get down to Orlando, let me know. I'd love to run up to Orlando or have you come down to Naples. And I need a few strokes though for playing because I have a
You're assuming I can still play. Okay.
Again, Mark, it's been a pleasure getting to know more about you on the Mark podcast. You got a new subscriber there. You got a new follower. I didn't even know that on the Mark was on Twitter, so I followed that earlier today. I'm already following you on your other Twitter, so keep posting good content. And this episode of the Hashtag Wednesday Match Play presented by Eat Sleep Golf will be on iTunes, Google Play. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be shared to Facebook and Twitter. Not hard to find. I'll email you a link so we can hopefully share it on your end when it goes live as well. And as always, on the Hashtag Wednesday Match Plays, you have to remember to eat, sleep, golf.